先是2026的3月31号，也就是 Sheldon Dingwall 跟 Jacob 的讲座的下午。那昨天的时候，他们就有来到 Taste Note 来作为他们在台湾的一个经销商，他们是来看看这间店是什么样子的。那我们也聊了很多事情最重要的是，我们也借这个机会对 Sheldon 跟 Jacob 做了一个专访，那就请大家看看吧。大家好，我是熊，欢迎来到 Taste Note。
The reality of that question is that they're all like children. So there is no favorite. I like them all for different reasons. I'm really excited about the Umansky Soul that's coming out this year. This is one that we put a lot of passion, a lot of effort into, and I'm super excited about how it turned out. This is the first ready to play that we based it on the Z series. So there are a lot of innovations in this bass that I'm really, really proud of. The effigy, it's not a ready to play yet, but that is something that we are planning in the future. Maybe, who knows, it'll be several years probably, but excited to introduce that. Then the combustion is where it all started for the ready to play. And there's something about a combustion, the swamp ash body, it's a little heavier than the other instruments, and so it has a really solid beat, probably one of the most solid Bs of all the ready to plays. I always love the combustion and what it represents. The John Taylor, this is a step in a new direction for us. So the Rupert Neve designed preamp, I've wanted to work with Rupert Neve for 20, 30 years and finally got the opportunity. And that preamp just, it's mind-blowing how musical it sounds. The SP1, light, balanced, more traditional, and that's also one of my favorite children. So there are many here. Oh, and of course the NG, I can't forget the NG. Of course, it's been our #1 selling model for, oh man, how long has it been? 15 years, something like that. And so the relationship with both Dark Glass and with Adam Nolly Get Good has just been amazing. They've brought so much to the company, and all of those together in that bass has just made it something that we're extremely proud of, and we're really happy to see so many artists using it and creating music that never could have been created without it. Every Dingwall design I felt is crazy, and I'm always surprised at the response we get. There are times when I think a color is going to be we're going to be stuck with a color because it's too far out there, and then that becomes our #1 selling color. Every model we do with the expectation that we can only build the tool. It's up to the musicians to be able to use the tool, and we don't have any control over that. So we're never 100% sure something is going to connect with our customers or not. Okay, I will share this, but I won't give a timeline because there's a pretty extended time required to develop a product and have it ready to ship to market. But I'm really interested in working on single coils right now. We've always had split coils, and I love the tone of those. And I'm feeling the itch to develop a really cool single coil. That's a really good question. So rotary switches have been part of our DNA since the mid-90s, and for several reasons. One of it is that every element in a volume and in a blend, there are two in a blend, add loading to the pickups. And so if you want to simulate what that sounds like, just take your volume control, like a volume blend. If you want to simulate what that sounds like on a Dingwall, roll your volume down to 7, and that will tell you what a blend sounds like. And so the advantage of the rotary switch is it doesn't load the pickups at all. It allows the signal to pass through with full transparency, full high end, full output. And then it also allows us to do alternate wirings with the pickups. So it's not possible, or it's very difficult to have a blend that gets you both parallel and series wiring with your pickups. And by far, series is one of the most popular tones for Dingwall customers. And so there's those advantages, and there's one more advantage. in that it gives us 4 different options of pre-produced classic tones. So it's like taking 4 basses to a gig instead of 1. And so right at your fingertips, if you need to go from a P to a J to a humbucker, it's just 1 click away. Yeah, I often think about F1 racing, and all of the companies that are racing in F1, all the teams, they're really, really good. And what separates them are the really minute details. And so for what we do, I think everything is in the minute details. And so I like to talk about, we don't have any one single solution. We have solutions that all work together. So multi-scale has been huge. That's a huge innovation that we didn't invent, Ralph Novak did. And that took bass further. But then we developed strings specifically for multi-scale, and that took things even further. And then we develop our hardware so that it's as invisible sounding as possible. It connects the strings to the body as efficiently as possible. And so that's another thing. And you add all those things together and you end up with what I think is the sum is greater than the total of the parts. That's a really good question. Tone woods, they do affect the sound of the instrument, even on an electric instrument, but they affect the feel and the response as well. And so if you are listening to somebody else play a bass, you may not be able to hear the differences in the different tone woods. But if you're playing the bass, you hear, you feel the response, and it influences how you play. Now, we've all had the experience where we go into a music store and we try several different identical guitars and find that, one of them just connects with me more than the rest of them. One of them feels alive and more alive than the other ones. And that has to do with the tone woods. And so will the audience hear the difference in the woods? No, but they will hear the difference in the player. So if the player is playing an instrument that feels like it's supporting the playing, and you know how there are some guitars or some basses where they feel effortless to play. So you will hear that in the performance. And there are some times when you're playing an instrument and it feels like it's fighting you and you have to play harder and just nothing seems to be working. You'll hear that in the performance too. So that is what the audience will hear.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I wanted to change when we started this project was the volume knob configuration, just because I do a lot of double thumbing and thumping on the higher strings, and when you're thumping on the lower strings, it's not really an issue, but when you do a lot of like the selective stuff on the higher register and the higher strings, I tend to hit the master volume, which was a problem, and the team at Dingwall were so on board with all the changes that I wanted to make with that. So we added this different little 3 and 2 cluster. And I guess the next thing would be when you actually start playing the bass, the neck shape. It's kind of a hybrid of all my favorite things about the Z3, the Afterburner, and the Combustion. So it kind of has like the thicker shoulders that you would expect from an Afterburner and a Combustion, but it's thinned out by around 1 millimeter, like the Z3. And it has it's the first ready-to-play model that has a compound fretboard radius, which is really cool. But yeah, and other than that, it just looks amazing. So when you see it, you know, that's probably the first thing you'll notice. But those two are probably the first things when you actually pick it up and play it. So for live, what I normally will do is I use a fractal live. And the way I'll start building that is I'll pick like a guitar amp. Like I think what I'm using now is like a PV5153 Blue, or EVH. And and then I kind of just EQ out all of the low end, and then I use a split, and then I'll use like an Ampeg SVT for all my low end. And that way you get this really crispy, punchy high end and a super warm, focused low end from the Ampeg. And what I also started to do was I have a third row where you have basically like after the compression, you split it off again, and then you get like a processed DI. And then I bring it back into the tone, and I have like a parametric EQ that controls the blend. So that way when you're using a, with a pick, it's not that crazy, but when you do a lot of different articulations like slapping, popping, thumping, tapping, you want a little bit of the DI in there so the audience and the listener can kind of differentiate all the different articulations you're doing. So live, that's what I'm doing. It's not as complicated as it sounds, just like the parallel distortion thing that everybody does. But I blend a DI in there. And then in the studio, I use the Parallax from Neural DSP, and I'll still normally do the same thing where I'll blend a processed DI in there just for the reasons I explained. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I would say that's amazing, and thank you, that's an honor. In terms of bass playing, you know, if you like what I do and you like the techniques and the composition stuff that I'm doing, then, and this applies to any artist that you like, you know, do some research and see who they listen to and like where they got their language from. You know, for me, you know, coming up, I listened to a lot of Marcus Miller, a lot of Dirty Loops, Pantera, Evan Brewer. These are just bass players, you know, there's a lot of other things, but like study those guys, and then it's amazing, but yeah, study my stuff too if you want. And then, and that way you're not just, you know, it's not like a one-dimensional language. You have all of these different players that you can pull from and build your own language. When it comes to writing bass lines, I'll always just start out with the fact that you need a foundation. Like the bass parts come first, no matter what, you know, how complex the song is, whether it's, you know, something that I do for like Clayton King, which is like extreme metal, or like some hyper funk that I'm doing for a video game. I just like to make sure that I'm serving the song first as the bass player. And the rest just kind of comes naturally, you know, like if it's something I'm doing for a video game where they want, you know, the crazy slap stuff, but it's like funk or R&B, you know, that's a language I'm very common with, but yeah, I just want to make sure that I have the foundation lined out first. Yeah, absolutely. That's not even a question. I love it here. I love the food. I love the people. I think we played at a venue called, don't tell me. I think it's called The Wall. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, we played The Wall. It was amazing. And yeah, I'd love to come back. We are currently writing some stuff, so I'm not sure when the next time we're gonna be making it over here. But yeah, the next time we start talking about dates, I'd love to make it back here. Yeah, the whole like me being a solo artist isn't really something I'm super interested in. I have my own project with like another band that's gonna come out later this year. where it's obviously the bass lines are cool, but it's not bass music. It's more of just like a band, which is the thing I'm more interested in pursuing. But with that single, I kind of wrote it as like a thank you and an ode to all the musicians and fans that have, you know, made it possible for me to have all the amazing things I have, like being the signature bass, you know, so I thought it would be a cool thing to do, to write like a crazy bass song. And the response has been amazing, so who knows, I might explore that later, but yeah, I have a lot of my own original stuff that I'm coming out with. It's just not, you know, bass music or that much of bass music. Yeah, in that project I was just talking about, I do a lot of the screams. And live, before intervals, I was in another band and I was doing like backing vocals and harmonies. So I wouldn't call myself like a lead vocalist, but it's definitely something that I like doing. So yeah, who knows?